Alright, so if you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you're sick and tired of making the same mistakes over and over again, and you finally realize that you are the problem. This has most likely led you to a deep realization that you desperately need to change. And this is why there is a deep inner transformation required to become a long-term, consistently profitable trader. The question that I'm going to address in this video is, how do we actually go about achieving this transformation? There are 5 main steps that you need to follow to have this deep inner transformation that is going to show up on the charts and lead you to consistent profitability. I would go as far as to say that if you really listen to what I'm about to tell you in this video, then your trading will never be the same again. The first step to transform your inner state is you need to understand the way your emotions work. If you've been in the trading space for any amount of time, then you've probably heard the word emotion over and over again. But what does it actually mean for you in your trading? And how do you deal with your emotions on and off the charts? There's a specific way to handle emotions effectively, and it's not through control, willpower, or force. It is through allowing and awareness. The more that you fear something, and the more that you make something a problem, the more that problem grows in your life. So if you are scared of having emotions while trading, if you are scared of having emotions in your daily life, and if you're constantly trying to push these emotions away, suppress them, or control them, this actually makes them worse. The best way to deal with your emotions while trading is just to allow them like you would a friend. Become welcoming of them. And you do this by taking the stance as the observer and watching your emotions come and go. The act of allowing or welcoming neutralizes these emotions. Just think about it, you're on the charts, and an emotion of fear is coming up, or an emotion of greed, or FOMO. And you're like, oh no, not this again. You start to push it away. And what does that cause? It causes more thinking about the fear, more thinking about the greed. Rather than just accepting, okay, this emotion is here, this is completely normal, every single trader experiences this, I'm just going to allow this feeling to fully arise and be exactly what this feeling is, and I will continue to trade my system, trade my plan. And this leads me into something very deep, which is, if your internal state is a mess, then your life is a mess. Most people are never cleaning out their emotional garbage. They're holding on to feelings of guilt, shame, fear, all kinds of emotional pain that they hold down inside. And why is this relevant to trading? Because to be a successful trader, you need to find balance within. You need to be calm within. If you are approaching the charts and you're feeling stressed, anxious, you have painful emotions going on, you are scattered all over the place, your mind is super busy, then what do you think is going to happen when you go to follow your plan and you have to deal with drawdown or losses? You're already not centered in yourself in your daily life. You already live your life in a way that's not balanced, and then you try to bring an imbalanced nature to the charts and do balanced behaviors. It's very difficult to do, if not impossible. So you need to clean up your internal space. And what is the way that you do this? It is to stop emotional suppression. So throughout our life, we have all kinds of feelings, all kinds of emotions, and we don't really want to talk about it. But everybody experiences these things. And these emotions, most of the time, are painful. So what do? We try to push these feelings away. We force them down, we distract ourselves, we look for other things to do, anything to prevent yourself from feeling that emotional pain. And what happens when you start to suppress all of your emotions throughout your entire life? This leads to an incredible state of imbalance within. You are not calm, you are not centered. You are filled with emotional garbage. And it is constantly running your life. Everything that you do is done to try to escape this emotional garbage. And this leads into addiction, gambling, trading as an escape rather than trading as a business, which is a massive problem for a lot of people, where trading becomes its own little gambling addiction, and it's done under the guise of making this a career. But what the point is, and what most people don't talk about, is that your internal state directly reflects your behavior on the charts. So to deal with emotions, when they come up, when painful emotions come up, instead of pushing them away, instead of distracting from them, face them head on, put your consciousness on the emotion, and just relax and let the emotion be exactly what it is. Let it be however painful that it is, and then that emotion will process and pass through. But if you try to hold on to it, if you try to suppress it, it will stay in the body And it'll keep you in a state of imbalance. It'll keep you in a state of stress. And there's actually science to back this up. I don't think in terms of trading, but in terms of disease and mental health issues, which, of course, if you have mental health issues, you're not going to be as effective as you could be as a trader because you are the tool that executes your plan. You are the edge. And this leads me into the second step, which is you need to have a deep understanding and awareness of your own ego. And what is your ego? It is your mind, your thoughts, the stories you tell yourself. It is the relationship between you, being awareness, being consciousness, and your thoughts, and how deeply you believe in these thoughts. Do you follow every single thought that comes through your head? Do you take action every time your mind says to do something? This is a very dangerous place to be for a trader, because if you believe you are your mind, and you just take action blindly based on what the mind says, then the mind, when it says to oversize, overtrade, go off your plan, you are just going to blindly follow that mind because you believe this is me and this is what I want. That is why building a separation between your thoughts and you is critically important. And this requires you to grow in the power of awareness, to build a buffer of awareness in between the behavior and the actions you take and the thoughts that you have, and you as the awareness watching it all. It's like if you were to sit beside a river and watch the river flow by. You just sit and quietly watch. You do it without judgment and without expectations. However, the mind or the ego is extremely powerful of getting you into its grasp of identification. It knows exactly what to say, your exact trigger points, to get you from being aware to being sucked back into its vortex of it telling you negative things about yourself, negative stories, bad behaviors to do in the market. This is why it takes so much work to build this buffer of awareness and to stop getting blindly lost in the mind. When you get blindly lost in the mind, you go into a state of unconsciousness where you're just taking behaviors and thinking thoughts and you're not even aware of it. It's just happening on autopilot based on your past patterns and your past habits. This is why sometimes when you're trading, everything seems to be going well, everything's good, and then all of a sudden something happens and things start to spiral out of control. And then later that night, you're like, what happened? What the heck happened? You lost yourself as the consciousness, as the awareness, into the vortex of emotions and the mind. And then you woke up 6 hours later and you're like, what the heck just happened? It's that trading is so emotional, especially when you're taking losses, especially when things aren't going your way, that the mind becomes very, very loud. Because all the mind wants to do is have pleasure, avoid pain, and survive. So anything that goes against those core fundamentals of the ego, it's going to lash out, scream, freak out, and it's going to try to get you back into following what it wants to do. So for example, if the trade is coming towards your stop loss, the ego is going to freak out and it's going to say, oh my God, we don't want this pain of taking this loss. Move the stop loss right now. All of a sudden, before you even know what you're doing, you're moving the stop loss. And then you look back later and you're like, that was not part of my plan. Why the heck did I move that stop loss? It's because the mind and the ego, it just starts freaking out and telling you any thoughts that it wants you to do to avoid that pain that you're about to experience by taking that loss. So I'm sure you can see how dangerous this can be, and I truly think this is why most traders fail, is most people don't have this awareness. Most people aren't aware of the things that I'm telling you right now. And without the awareness of this information, it's very difficult to follow your plan over a long period of time, because it's only a matter of time before the ego sabotages you. And I'm telling you right now, it's a little trickster. It is going to try to do everything in its power to trick you back into mind identification, to trick you from being open awareness, just watching non-judgmentally. It's going to say something super dramatic, super emotional, to try to get you lured back into its grip and to do the actions that it wants you to take. And I'll tell you right now that I'm sharing this information with you, but I am not a perfect person. I still get lost in the mind. And I've been practicing this type of stuff for years. So when I'm telling you this stuff, it's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden just be a Buddha Zen master. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time to build this buffer of awareness, and you are going to get lost back in the mind. And that is just part of the process. Every single time you notice, I am losing my center of awareness, and I'm getting dragged around in all different directions by the mind, just pull yourself back out and begin to observe again, and then you might immediately get pulled back in. And if you are a complete beginner with this, you can use body awareness techniques, breath awareness techniques, just to ground yourself in this moment. So instead of just trying to be the observer, just take your attention, place it on the body, and place it on the breath. These are concepts from books like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle that teach you about just remaining grounded and remaining present in this moment. Because with trading, anytime you start to leave the present moment and you start to go into future expectations, or you start to go into fear from the past, anything that isn't just showing up, having a plan, being present with that plan and following it in the moment is detrimental to your trading success. That is all you need to focus on. So all the stuff that the ego is throwing up of what you want in the future and when you need to get a payout and what you're going to tell your friends and family if you fail for a year first before finding success, and etc. It makes up all these stories about what if this, what if that. You're not living here. You're not living now. You're not present with the market and you're not present with your plan. So the concluding thought of this is that you do not need to follow or act on every thought. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes your thoughts. So if the mind says to do something, or if it has a thought that you don't agree with, you don't need to just blindly follow it. You need to look at your mind like someone who has a tendency to lie, like a friend who has told you lots of lies in the past. So everything that they tell you, you're questioning. You're not just blindly believing it. If someone you don't respect comes up to you and says, you're a terrible person, you're not just going to blindly believe what they say, because you're like, okay, where's the source of this information coming from? So what I'm saying is that your mind and your ego doesn't have your best interests at heart always. Doesn't mean that you can't use it as a tool and listen to what it has to say, but you're not just going to blindly follow whatever it tells you. This leads me into the third step, which is once you build this awareness, you can start to uncover limiting beliefs, thought patterns, and stories. Your common patterns of thoughts and beliefs tie into erroneous action in the markets. So there's all kinds of different stories you tell yourself about who you are as a trader, about what you're capable of. There's all kinds of beliefs you hold outside of the markets and inside the markets. And before you can really move forward in your trading, you need to identify the negative beliefs that are holding you back and the negative thought patterns. So the way that you do this is once you've started growing in awareness, you must watch for a repetitive thought. What is something that you're constantly thinking over and over again? Watch all day long, especially while you're trading, and notice thoughts that say self-sabotaging things. Like if you take a loss and the mind says, that means you're a failure. Boom, you now know that you have a belief connected to loss that says you're a failure. That helps you understand that a loss for you personally is beyond just being monetary. It is tied in with your belief system about how valuable you are as a person and your self-worth. You're tying your self-worth to your success in the market, and you're doing this through repetitive thoughts and beliefs. The different thought patterns, stories, and beliefs that you tell yourself are going to be different for everybody. So you need to constantly be aware and constantly watch, what is my mind saying? What is it repeatedly telling me? Now, as soon as you notice this, pull out a pen and paper and write down exactly what you're thinking. This is very, very important to put the identification of the belief on paper so that you can see it. This makes it concrete in your mind that this is a false belief that you're holding. Now it's time to do some deep journaling sessions around these beliefs, around these stories, and around these thought patterns. Where do they come from? Where did they originate? Did someone tell you something in the past like trading is impossible, you'll never be a successful trader? At the time, did you believe that and implant that into your subconscious mind? Because if you did, now that belief is running all of your behaviors in the market of this is not possible. That could be part of the reason why you rush the process, is because you think, I just want to prove to everyone that I can succeed doing this. So really get into the actual belief itself. Once it's been identified, write down everything you can think of about it. And this is just a free writing activity where you write, and sometimes you'll be surprised at what pops out. Through doing this internal work, you really start to uncover a lot of the beliefs and thought patterns that have been holding you back. And through your journaling, you can tie in these beliefs and thought patterns with actual behavior you're taking in the market. And I can say, wow, part of the reason why taking a loss is so hard for me personally is because I believe it means I'm a failure. Instead of just seeing a loss as falling on the wrong side of probability, you tie meaning to it and you have beliefs about it that you are not as worthy as a human being or that you're a failure. This makes taking a loss 10 times more emotional. So step 4 is once you've uncovered these things about yourself, you can start to rewire your self-identity. And you do this by going in and rewriting the negative beliefs that you hold. Now that you've identified them, you've put them all on paper, and you've tied them into your behavior in the markets, now you start to discredit them. And you do this by writing out all the reasons why this belief is false, why this belief is not true. So write on paper, I believe that when I take a loss, I'm a failed trader. This is not true because everybody takes losses in the market. This has nothing to do with my success. And the market is a game of probabilities, and I'm always bound to fall on the wrong side every now and then. Just simply writing it down like this is very powerful for reprogramming your mind. Once you start to falsify these negative beliefs, start to replace them with positive ones. Start to purposely think and act as if you are a profitable trader. Now, this is going to feel weird at first if you're not a profitable trader, if you've never made any money in the markets. It's going to feel very weird to tell yourself, I'm a profitable trader, I'm successful, I'm disciplined. However, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between something real or fake that you tell it. If you repeat something enough times, then your subconscious mind, your deeper mind, just starts to get on board with that. It starts to just believe that. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm a failed trader, I'm not disciplined, I can't follow my rules, then that is how you see yourself. You see yourself as a person who can't follow their rules. And you're also holding on to beliefs that it's not possible for you. So before you become a profitable trader, you need to act and think like a profitable trader. What would a successful profitable trader do before a trading session? How would they live their life? What habits would they engage in? What thoughts would they think? You need to embody the future version of yourself that is profitable and think the same thoughts that that person would think. Act in the same ways that that person would act. And if you begin to actually become this person and your self-identity starts to become that of a profitable trader, then life will mirror this. You will start to engage in behavior that supports profitable trading. You'll start to follow your plan. You'll find the right information and the right resources because you're open to them. If you have false beliefs like, I'm never going to be profitable or I'm a failed trader, then guess what? You're not going to look out for things that can help you. And when you go into the market, you're going to say, oh, I might as well just oversize because I'm not going to be successful anyway. That is why it's so dangerous to hold on to unconscious negative beliefs that you're not even aware of. Because behind the scenes, subconsciously, they're running the show. And every single time you show up to the market, you're engaging in bad behavior, and it's all tied in with how you think about yourself and the markets. And I mean, it's not even some crazy woo-woo concept. It's just basic common sense. Of course, if I show up to a session and I'm thinking, oh, today's going to suck. I've been failing all week. I really suck at this. I'm not going to be successful. Then what do you think is going to happen when you show up to that session? Rather than if you come to the session and think, I'm calm, I'm focused, I'm going to crush it today. Yeah, I took a loss yesterday, but I'm a great trader. I'm going to make it back. I'm a profitable trader who's disciplined. I'm going to be fine. Consistent money's coming my way. If this is the way that you think, how much of a difference do you think that would make in your trading day to day? So at first, this is going to be very hard because you have a habit of thinking negatively or engaging in self-limiting beliefs or negative thought patterns. That's why you need that other stuff I told you in this video. Because if you're not dealing with your emotions right and you're not aware that you're not the mind, then it's very hard to go in and start rewriting your beliefs. But once you realize that your awareness, and you don't need to be identified with all these things that you tell yourself, now you can start to rewrite the script. Now you can start to think and identify as someone who is profitable and is successful. Now the final step is surrendering to the process. You need to allow everything to be as it is. Stop resisting the moment in front of you. Trading is a process and it will always be a process. It's a process of waking up every day and choosing right actions, thinking right thoughts, following your plan. But if you take a loss in the market, don't resist that. Just accept it and allow it to be as it is. To be successful, you need an overall detachment from the daily outcome of every single trade. You need to have a long-term vision that I know if I show up and follow my plan over a long period of time, then I'm definitely going to be successful. When you truly believe that, you don't really care about the outcome of one trade or one bad day. When you're outcome focused, this leads to all kinds of problems, like rushing the process, fearing losses. Whereas when you see the bigger picture, none of that daily stuff really matters that much to you. So let go of resistance to the way things are. Just be with what is, and drop the ego that is constantly trying to change the situation. The truth is, trading is hard. It'll always be a journey, and it'll always be hard. And your job is just to accept that and focus on the process. Now, instead of resisting the way life is, you start to relax and surrender. Surrender to the process. Show up every day, put your best foot in front of the other. And before you know it, one day you'll wake up and realize, wow, I've been doing really, really well.